Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janaballabha Girdvaradhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girdvaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Girdvaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Girdvaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sure. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 32, Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. Text 26. Jnanamatram param brahma Paramatmeshvara puman Drishyadibi pratag bhavair Bhagavan eka iyate Jnanamatram param brahma Paramatmeshvara puman Drishyadibi pratag bhavair Bhagavan eka iyate Jnanamatram param brahma Paramatmeshvara puman Drishyadipi pratag bhavair Bhagavan eka iyate Vaishnavis. Jnana, knowledge. Matram, only. Param, transcendental. Brahma, Brahman. Paramatma, Paramatma. Ishvara, the controller. Puman, super soul. Drishyadibhi, by philosophical research and other processes. Pratakbhavai, according to different processes of understanding. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eka, alone. Iyate, is perceived. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead alone is complete transcendental knowledge. But according to the different processes of understanding, he appears differently. Either as impersonal Brahman, as Paramatma, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or as the Purusha Avatar. Purport. The word Drishyadibhi is significant. According to Jiva Goswami, Drishi means Jnana, philosophical research. By different processes of philosophical research under different concepts, such as the process of Jnana Yoga, the same Bhagavan, or Supreme Personality Godhead, is understood as impersonal Brahman. Similarly, by the Eightfold Yoga system, he appears as the Paramatma. But in pure Krishna consciousness, or knowledge in purity, when one tries to understand the absolute truth, one realizes him as the Supreme Person. The transcendence is realized simply on the basis of knowledge. The words used here, Paramatmeshvara Puman, are all transcendental, and they refer to Supersoul. Supersoul is also described as Purusha, but the word Bhagavan directly refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is full of six opulences: wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. He is the personality of Godhead in different spiritual skies. The various descriptions of Paramatma, Ishwar, and Puman indicate the expansions of the Supreme Godhead are unlimited. Ultimately, to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has to accept Bhakti Yoga. By executing Jnana Yoga or Jnana Yoga, one has to eventually approach the Bhakti Yoga platform. And then Paramatma, Ishwara, Puman, and so forth are all clearly understood. It is recommended in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that whether one is a devotee or fruitive actor or liberationist, if he is intelligent enough, he should engage himself with all seriousness in the process of devotional service. It is also explained that whatever one desires, which is obtainable by fruitive activities, even if one wants to be elevated to higher planets, can be achieved simply by execution of devotional service. Since the Supreme Lord is full in six opulences, he can bestow any one of them upon the worshipper. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead reveals himself to different thinkers as a Supreme Person, or impersonal Brahman, or Paramatma. Impersonalists merge into the impersonal Brahman, but that is not achieved by worshiping the impersonal Brahman. If one takes to devotional service and at the same time desires to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord, he can achieve that. If someone desires at all to merge into the existence of the Supreme, he has to execute devotional service. We'll stop there. It's a very long purport. Translation again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead alone is complete transcendental knowledge. But according to the different processes of understanding, he appears differently, either as impersonal Brahman, as Paramatma, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or as the Purusha Avatar. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Complete knowledge means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As you are aware, there are so many different types of material knowledge that you can pursue, but everything material is troublesome, problematic, and distorted without a direct connection to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, the pinnacle of spiritual knowledge is Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is very important to understand the science of the Supreme. And that science of Krishna includes art, culture, as well as philosophy. Krishna is unlimitedly attractive. Everything about Krishna, his name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, are the ultimate destination. You, the spirit soul, will never be satisfied until you connect with that ultimate destination. Therefore, as you know, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoginam api sarvesham madhyatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktataмо mata. Of all the different types of yoga systems and their yogic practitioners, of all those types, the greatest, the highest, is the one who's absorbed in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You may not have realized how you have reached the pinnacle of spiritual development. You may think, oh, we're just attending the mandir on Sunday. We're following tradition. Or you may be thinking, you've been so distressed and frustrated in material existence, maybe Krishna will work for you. So we have persons coming from all different types of motivations. But because they come to Krishna, Krishna himself says, they all are meritorious, sukriti. But now what do you do with your great fortune, your great merit? Bhakti is an investment. How much are you willing to commit yourself to devotional service, the process for understanding Krishna? You've gone far beyond punya, pious activity. What to speak of sinful activity, papa. The previous chapter, spoken by Lord Kapila Dev to his mother, Devahuti, outlined the results of sinful activity, bad karma, leading to hellish destinations. This chapter begins by presenting the results of good karma, punya, and both the bad karma and the good karma are rejected by Lord Kapila Dev. This chapter presents, in the beginning, how the materialistic householder is absorbed in rituals for pleasing the devatas, for the benefit of the ancestors, and the hope that not only will there be material enjoyment in this life, but also in the next life. That's intelligent materialism, which you don't see today. So as I often point out, to call someone a materialist today is actually a great compliment. It implies, calling them a materialist implies they know how to live a productive and beneficial material life. They do not. Everything done today is so destructive, even from the material point of view. So this chapter starts off by condemning those who are absorbed in good karma, who want to go to the heavenly planets. So what do you think? You might assume, yes, we wouldn't mind going to the heavenly planets. Where that material happiness is thousands of times better than what is available on earth. But Lord Kapila Dev considers such desires to be foolish. He uses the term kama mudha. It's bad enough to be a mudha, a fool, but kama mudha, to be constantly bewildered by material desires, by lust for this, lust for that. So Srimad Bhagavatam is laying out for you the complete picture. You can do this. You can just commit sinful activities and suffer hellishly. You can dedicate yourself to pious activities, doing all the rituals, pleasing the ancestors, pleasing the devatas. You can do that also. Still rejected. As Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Chine punye marcha lokam vashanti. You can go up to the heavenly planets, but you must come down. Lord Chaitanya compares that whole experience of traversing the universe up and down to something in medieval times called the dunking chair. Anyone know about the dunking chair? It's a chair attached to a post, wooden post, on the bank of the river. And the chair is at the end of a long piece of wood. And so the criminal is placed in that chair, and then the whole primitive mechanism dunks the person into the river. And that person is gasping for air, about to drown, and just when the person thinks, I'm finished, he's underwater, he can't breathe, they bring him up out of the water. The current version of that, in case you don't know, is called waterboarding. Performed by many of the benign, wonderful governments today. Where they put you on a board and a plank, and your head is down, your feet are up, and then they put a wet towel over your nose and mouth, and they pour water on it. And it gives you the exact sensation of drowning. And then they take the wet towel off, and now you want to tell us everything. No, I don't know anything. Oh, the towel goes on, down you go, water pour over. This is considered extreme and cruel torture. But imagine the relief you feel when they stop pouring the water. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya talks about the medieval equivalent, the dunking chair, where the king orders this criminal should be placed on the chair and plunged into the river, almost to the point of death. Just when he's about to die, drowning, bring him up for air. So you can just imagine. You're in that chair, submerged in the water, and then you're brought back out of the water. So Mahaprabhu compares this to going up and down in the heavenly planets, earthly planets, lower planets. You think, now I'm in a good situation. Down you go again. Then when you think, I'm finished by all this suffering, you're brought up. Some material happiness, I can breathe. Down you go again. So Lord Chaitanya says, aren't you tired of this? Don't you have something better to do? And what is our answer? If we just get a few moments of material happiness, that makes all the suffering worthwhile, right? Just let our investment properties soar in value. Let our shares do well. Let there be corporate advancement for all our children. And then, yeah, we die, but we'll leave some property for the children. That's the important thing. We'll die. We don't know where we're going, but we left something for the children to squander and mess up. So Lord Kapila is explaining the same principle. Yes, pious activity, punya, doing all the Vedic rituals, worshipping the demigods is better than sinful gross materialism, but still it's rejected because it has nothing to do with bhakti. And only bhakti can completely satisfy the self. Yenatma supersediti. So Bhagavatam explains in the very beginning, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti atokshaje. Ahoituki apratiyata. Yenatma supersediti. That system of spiritual dedication is best. That sponsors, advocates devotional service to the Supreme Lord with no material motivation. And if there is no material motivation, there won't be any interruption. Interruptions in this pure service to the Lord come about because of material desires. So Bhagavatam says, Yenatma supersediti. Only this will completely satisfy the self. And what do we say? Well, isn't it enough to believe in Krishna? Just like our ancestors did. Isn't that enough? Why this emphasis on devotional service? Because only through devotional service can Krishna be understood. Otherwise you'll be perpetually bewildered by demigod worship, by good karma. I'm just doing my duty. Well, for whose pleasure are you doing your duty? Well, I'm doing my duty. You must go to a higher level, and that higher level is devotional service. Then you can understand the complete reality. Therefore, the verse today explained by Lord Kapila says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead alone is complete transcendental knowledge. So you may say, well, so what if I don't have complete transcendental knowledge? What's wrong with a little bit of transcendental knowledge? That means you know a little something about the impersonal Brahman. You may know something about Paramatma, but you won't be satisfied until you attain completeness. So what is harassing us in our daily life, what's chasing us like a dog nipping at our heels, what's chasing us is incompleteness. We haven't grasped that yet. We haven't penetrated to the root of our problem. We think, oh, I'm so busy, I'm working, family affairs, yet I'm missing something. I don't know what it is. There'll always be that sense of incompleteness, no matter what job you have, no matter what the status of your family life is. There'll always be that sense of incompleteness without understanding Krishna. And Krishna is only understood through devotional service. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. It's very important that you have the full picture. And that's what Lord Kapila is giving. There is impersonal Brahman. There is the super soul, Paramatma, in the core of your heart. But ultimately, you need to connect to Bhagavan. Why? Because you want love. You don't have a loving relationship with the impersonal Brahman. You don't have a loving relationship with the four-handed super soul in the core of your being. Only Krishna gives you that loving relationship in different flavors. So this is your real quest in life. This is your real investment. You may recall from the first canto also, Prameti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdite. Those of you who have studied Bhakti Shastri know the famous verse that explains that the absolute truth, the supreme reality, appears in three different perspectives: impersonal Brahman, Supersoul Paramatma, and Bhagavan. According to how you approach, you get these different perspectives. But if you approach through bhakti, you get the complete package. Remember, incompleteness will not satisfy you. Incompleteness in material affairs will always be there. And there can be spiritual incompleteness. You have some glimmer of understanding of the impersonal, all-pervading Brahman. Or you have some, through your meditation, the practice of the eightfold meditation system. Who has time for that? The real Ashtanga yoga system? No one. But let's say you happen to be a yogi who lives on top of a mountain in the Himalayas. Anyone? You can get a glimpse of the Paramatma, the four-handed supersoul in the core of your being. But you still won't be satisfied without Bhagavan. How are you going to love without Bhagavan? Love means attractiveness. I explain this again and again and again. Without attractiveness, how can your understanding of spiritual knowledge be complete? Krishna has the ability to unlimitedly attract you. He does it as a child. He does it as a friend. He does it as a master. He does it as a romantic partner. Krishna presents everything you want unlimitedly and without flaw. Therefore, his name is Krishna. Unlimitedly attractive. So you may ask, why sometimes is the Supreme Lord referred to as nameless? Yet you're calling him Krishna. He's nameless in the sense that he performs so many activities. You can't just fix a name on one of Krishna's activities and say, that's it. That's all there is. But the name Krishna contains all those names referring to activities because Krishna means all attractive. You may recall, not recently, but in, let's say 100, 200, 300 years ago, a person would have a surname according to their occupation, according to their activities. Someone could have the surname Goldsmith, another Trivedi. But now, it's all meaningless. Someone can have the surname Trivedi and not knows anything about Vedic knowledge. But in the old days, you would have a surname that referred to your activities. So this is how Krishna is described as nameless, even though Krishna has, as you know, Nam Namakadi Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. Lord Chaitanya explains, Krishna has so many names. But the chief name is Krishna because all attractiveness includes everything. But then again, you can call the Supreme Lord nameless because his activities are unlimited. So just remember, the culture of a surname matching your activities. You don't see that anymore, so therefore you might be puzzled. Why is Krishna nameless? Because he has so many activities, infinite activities. Then he's described as formless. Why? We look at Radha Gopinath. If you're a developing devotee, you see the deity Radha Gopinath as a representation of Radha and Krishna. But a more advanced devotee will see Radha Gopinath as directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Goloka Vrindavan. So why then is Krishna referred to as formless? It's because he has no material form. And then what about activityless? Why is Krishna described as having no activities when he's doing so many things? Just like in this month of Kartik, we're celebrating the Damodar Leela. Krishna's doing mischief. He was exchanging love with his mother, and she punished him. He was sleeping, napping in a room nearby, and he decided, I'm hungry. What was his mother doing? You know, churning yogurt into butter while singing songs about her son's activities. So Krishna comes out of his room and grabs the churning rod to stop his mother from churning. And she thought, oh, he's so intelligent. What can compare to the affection of Mother Yashoda? It's totally out of this world. So she stops churning, she picks Krishna up onto her lap and begins to feed him while staring into his face. How does that relate to impersonal Brahman or Paramatma? So while she's feeding him and staring into his beautiful face, the perfection of maternal relationship, Vatsalya praying. What happens? You know. The milk on the stove starts to boil over. Why does Mother Yashoda have milk on the stove when she's got so many maidservants, right? She has milk on the stove because she's concerned. My son, my little boy, is always breaking into neighbors' houses and stealing milk products, especially butter. Usually, Mother Yashoda would depute the cooking to her maidservants, but she says, I myself have to make milk products for my son because then I can be guaranteed that he'll be satisfied and he'll stop going to others' houses and stealing. So she had special cows in Nanda Maharaj's herd. These special cows would give specially flavored milk. So she got special milk from those special cows and was preparing it herself on the stove. All for Krishna. But then the milk started to boil over. And she put Krishna down just to tend to the milk boiling over. It wasn't that far away. But Krishna didn't like it. You put me down. I'm not fully satisfied drinking your breast milk. You put me down. And so in that short time that Mother Yashoda was away, Krishna went on a temper tantrum. He got a small stone and he broke the pot, the stone pot that the churning rod goes into. And all the half-churned butter spread out all over the floor. Just visualize the person you think is activityless, formless, and nameless. What's he doing now? He's so angry he's biting his lip. Try to do that. She put me down. His eyes fill with tears. He's demonstrating the infinite perfection of a childhood temper tantrum. You might, if you're an impersonalist, you'll say, what kind of God is this? But this is the God who knows how to pull on his mother's heartstrings. I have noticed it's hard for men to understand a mother's affection for a child. Often it's hard for men to understand why women want children. Such a botheration, sleepless nights, and I was in one city in Europe, I won't tell you which one, to protect the identity of the person. But this nice devotee family came to see me, husband, wife, and she had 3 young children, all under the age of 7 and ranging down to, I think, 2 or 3 years old. And so she was telling me, oh, it's so hard. I have such difficulty chanting my rounds. I have such difficulty sleeping. I don't get any free time. I'm just non-stop taking care of 3 children. She went on and on and on like that. And the husband, the procreator, was kind of quiet. I just make them. You take care of them. So she's going on and on like that. All of a sudden, 2 of her little children came, one on each side of her, and each one hugged her at the same time. I said, how do you feel now? She said, this is nice. It's very difficult for a man to understand that rasa, that flavor, fully. So Krishna wants to deepen the rasa with his mother. He wants more love to come out. That's the nature of infinity. We think of infinity as limitless time and space. But the ultimate understanding of infinity is Krishna's love. Loving affairs with his devotees have no end. They're always increasing. Just like we say about the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. By their activities of compiling shastras and glorifying Krishna, they're always arranging that the limits of the ocean of transcendental bliss increase. So this is Krishna's specialty as Bhaktavatsa. He's always increasing his loving affairs with devotees. So even though he's in a rage, he's biting his lip, his tears are coming from his eyes, it's all designed to deepen Mother Yashoda's affection. So he smashes the butter pot, out comes the half-churned butter, spread out over the floor. Kavi Kaviraj, Kavi Karnapur explains, gives them some more details, that because the yogurt, the half-churned butter was spreading out over the floor, Krishna walked all in it, romping with his, stepping on the floor where the liquid half-churned butter was spreading. He's having a good time. And then what to do next? Run through the house and spread butter footprints throughout the whole house. Have you ever done anything like that as a child? I remember my mother, for her 4 children, for those born in the West, there's the Easter tradition of jelly beans. Any of you buy jelly beans for Easter? No one wants to admit. Oh no, only pure Vedic. So anyway, my mother, she's going to the Ivy League University and working a full-time job and raising 3 children. And so she, with great love, she bought a big bag of jelly beans. And that was meant for the children to enjoy on Easter Sunday. You know what a jelly bean is, yeah? Okay, that much. I know it's not Vedic, but... So 3 days before Easter Sunday came, all the kids, me included, decided to have a jelly bean fight. We opened the bag and started throwing jelly beans at each other. Big bag and jelly beans all over the house as you're throwing it at each other. I'll never forget, my mother then walked through the door coming from work and looked at the scene and just cried. I'm trying to do the best for my children. I bought them jelly beans so they can enjoy on Easter Sunday, and now look, all the jelly beans are all over the house. Who's going to have to clean the house? The kids never forgot that. We felt really bad. We thought we were having fun. But look, our dear mother is just broken down in tears. So Krishna is bringing out more love from Yashodamai. She hasn't realized that. She doesn't know her son's the Supreme Personality Godhead. Krishna doesn't want her to know that because that will ruin the relationship. Knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead, that's Mathura and Dwarka. Mathura Vasis, they are halfway between spontaneous Vrindavan love and awe and reverence Dwarka love. And Dwarka, they're completely attuned to the majesty of the Supreme Lord. But Mother Yashoda, she's a pure Brijavasi. She doesn't even believe Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. She thinks Nanda Maharaj did it. So Krishna has spread butter-smeared footprints throughout the house. So you know what happened, the rest of what happened. She ties him up when she catches him. She ties him to a wooden grinding mortar. And then she leaves to go tend to her household affairs. Why did she leave little Krishna tied up? She was confident he won't do anything more. Because number one, his little friends are there watching him. Number two, the wooden mortar weighs so much, he'll not be able to do anything about being tied to it. And number three, the knots in the rope are so tight. So what is Krishna thinking? He's thinking, you're punishing me because I did mischief. Now I'm going to do even more mischief. I'm not through yet. So he begins to drag the grinding mortar towards the Yamalarjuna trees. Now what are Krishna's little friends thinking? His little friends are thinking, he's dragging the mortar toward these two big trees because he wants shade from the sun. They didn't know what Krishna is thinking. Krishna is thinking, my devotee Narada Muni has said that these two former demigods now embedded in trees will be liberated by me. I have nothing to do with rich boys, sons of demigods. But because my devotee Narada Muni has arranged this situation, I will fulfill his words. So Krishna very slowly advances toward the Yamalarjuna trees. Why slow? Well, there's several reasons for that. He's dragging it along the ground. He doesn't want the ropes tied to the mortar and him to become loose, and the whole contraption falls away on its own. So he's proceeding slowly. Another reason is that he's in Bal Leela. He's Bal Gopal. I'm a child. I can't pull anything big. This is Braj Leela. Krishna does his inconceivable activities, and the activities are packaged in a childish way, although the result is inconceivable. He does that to preserve the sweetness of the relationship with devotees. So Krishna advances very slowly toward the trees to make sure the mortar doesn't come loose, and is dragging these marks on the ground. That's very important. Why? We'll jump ahead. Because after the Yamalarjuna trees come crashing to the ground, making such a sound, and those trees were as big as a cowherd man's house. So the cowherd men heard that sound and immediately, oh, what's happening? Everyone thought Krishna's in trouble because the sound of the trees crashing to the ground was like thunder. And thunder without clouds in the sky is considered inauspicious. So all the cowherd men panicked and they raced toward where the sound came from. They couldn't exactly see from a distance what's going on because there were so many trees with their branches and leaves in the way. Now you might say, where are the ladies? Where's Mother Yashoda and the elder gopis? Why is the emphasis on the men? The cowherd men, the ladies, they have a reaction too. Yes, they fainted. That's why the men got there first. So the men are there and they see the scene. But they can't add 1 + 1 = 2. They see that Krishna is there tied to the mortar, and they can look at the marks on the ground that the mortar has been dragged, and they can easily put together the whole crime scene. But no, it doesn't. He couldn't have done this. Even the little cowherd boys are telling Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men, Krishna did it. He did it. And some bright shining men came out of the trees when the trees crashed down. And the cowherd men were, who can believe these little children? Some of the cowherd men thought, he just might appreciate the Namakarana ceremony. They quoted him, this child will have powers equal to Narayan. Now the cowherd men, these few cowherd men never said he is Narayan. They just, it could be equal to Narayan according to the words of Gargarishi. But that opinion didn't carry the day. So there is Krishna, surrounded by the branches and leaves. He's covered actually with leaves and branches, but he's unharmed. So that's the main focus of the cowherd men. Oh, Krishna's unharmed. Krishna has been saved. He didn't do this. Some or other the trees came down. They were speculating. Kavi Karnapur, great devotee in Chaitanya Leela, writes that they were speculating that, the trees came down because their roots were old and aged, and therefore at the same time, simultaneously, both trees came crashing down. But then they looked at the roots of the trees, which were visible because the trees were now laid out on the ground. They looked at the roots and said, these roots look very fresh and green. Could it be some demon who caused this? Could it be a demigod? What would the demons and demigods be? Why would they be doing such a thing? No, that can't be true. They concluded it's a natural disaster. Meanwhile, their main concern is, how is it that Krishna is safe? That's the main thing. What saved Krishna? Usually when Krishna is in a situation like that, the elders attribute Krishna's safety and his victory to, number one, Krishna must have done, our child must have done in his past life, lots of punya, lots of pious activities. Or else they said, Krishna has been saved by our prayers to Narayan. Finally, they would say, because our local village Brahmana priests are very powerful, their mantras have protected Krishna. That's life in Vrindavan. So even try to understand their bewilderment. They can see rationally, with rational intelligence, what happened. The marks on the ground are there, resulting from Krishna dragging the mortar. The little cowherd boys are saying, Krishna did it, Krishna did it. Some of them the little cowherd boys complete their sentences. Just Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So then Nanda Maharaj, as the leader, he walks up to Krishna to untie him. And he's smiling. Why is Nanda Maharaj smiling as he unties Krishna? He's hiding his anger at his wife. He's thinking to himself, Krishna was just exchanging love with her. That's why he broke the butter pot and smeared butter footprints all over the house and was feeding butter to the monkeys. It's just a loving affair. Why did my wife punish him like this? But he was smiling. He didn't want Krishna to notice. See, Nanda Maharaj he's a child psychology expert. And Krishna is also expert. Why was Krishna smiling too? He's smiling to let his father know, I'm not afraid of anything, I'm all right. You're smiling, I'm smiling, everything is fine. So that same Krishna, we say, is activityless. Why? Because his actions have no connection to material nature. Now, here's a problem with those who are influenced by impersonalism, consciously or unconsciously. You're thinking, how can there be a person who performs activities that are not limited by time and space? Activities are performed by those in a realm limited by time and space. So if Krishna is performing activities as a person, he must be limited by time and space. You may be implicitly, unconsciously thinking that when you read Krishna book. You're trying to place Krishna within the context of limited time and space. But the reality is that time and space are contained within Krishna. So Krishna can be acting in such a way to knock down Yamala Arjuna trees as a little child. Meanwhile, throughout the universe, countless yogis are meditating on him in mystic yoga as the Supersoul. So all this is going on at once. Krishna is dragging down Yamala Arjuna trees. Others are fascinated by Krishna's impersonal effulgence. Others are fascinated by Krishna's expansion in the core of everyone's heart as Supersoul. And what's Krishna doing? Smiling at his father. So this is why Lord Kapil Dev is giving you scientific knowledge so you can get to the 10th canto and understand Krishna in truth. Otherwise, your spiritual practices, your yoga, your meditation, your pious activities will never reach the ultimate conclusion. So this is what Lord Kapila Dev is doing for his mother, Devahuti. She submissively accepted him as her guiding light. He's giving her the greatest gift of complete knowledge. And then there can be complete satisfaction. You've seen the picture on the cover of Lord Kapila Dev on an asana and his mother Devahuti sitting before him. Yes, everyone knows that picture. That was the only, I think, one of the few good things my mother did in her lack of understanding about bhakti. For a while, she was looking at Bhagavad Gita. She's from a very strict Christian background, one way only. But she started reading Bhagavad Gita and she saw this picture of Lord Kapila Dev sitting on the asana, lecturing his mother. His mother's on the floor in front of him. So one time I went to visit my mother and she said, "Come here." And she sat me on the couch. And then she sat on the floor in front of me and said, "Is this how you do it?" One time in the whole life, that was it. All right, any questions? I hope no one in my family hears this lecture. Sometimes they snoop and they hear, and then they say amongst themselves, don't say anything about the family affairs around him. It'll be broadcast all over the world. No questions. Yes. Some were from him, others from Vishwanath. So, yes. First, you get the most important core from Prabhupada's purports. If you haven't gotten that, you'll get lost in all these commentaries. And you get lost, as I say, you'll miss the forest for the trees. So yes, master Prabhupada's books, and then you can sprinkle your presentation with these little details. But sometimes I notice immature devotees want to specialize in all these details, and they miss the whole song, just focusing on details. So first, read Prabhupada's books till they pour out of your ears and nose. And then you'll know how to utilize the little details. You won't lose sight of the main picture. Anything else? Yes. Everyone in the age of Kali is tinged by impersonalism. That's why you sing Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarini. Everyone is tinged by this notion that all paths lead to the same goal. Worship any devata you like, it's all the same. They're all portals, gateways to the divine. Whether in India or Australia, that's the prevalent understanding. So this is why knowledge of Krishna is so important for distribution. People automatically think that the ultimate is the infinite, nameless, formless, activityless. If they at all think about anything beyond material nature, that's what they think. So much of our effort is about breaking down these barriers of unconscious impersonalism, whether in India or Australia. Some of you may be thinking, we come to Radha Gopinath Mandir. Why? Because it's nearby. But there's also Durga Mandir, this Mandir, that Mandir. But my friends are here, so I come here. No, you need complete knowledge of why Krishna is the culmination of knowledge, of yoga, of meditation. Otherwise, you'll remain a neophyte whose understanding and faith is very pliant, and you can easily be manipulated and spun off track. Oh, we have to move to the other side of the city. There's a nice Ganesh temple there. Well, why not go there? It's closer. Or a Swami this and that temple. Yeah. So it's very important to become grounded in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Anything else? I was probably too shocked. And that was only for a moment. Yes? Yes. Like Vasudeva and Devaki, they're halfway. You'll see prayers in the 10th canto where Vasudeva and Devaki are saying, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And then, "Can we hide you? No one will understand that we had a 4-armed baby." 1 minute they're expressing the glories in awe and reverence. The next minute they're feeling afraid for Krishna's welfare. So it goes back and forth like that. Just like after Krishna killed Kamsa. You want to know about that briefly? After Krishna killed Kamsa, he dragged the huge body of Kamsa all around the wrestling arena. Why? Because he was thinking that his parents would think that Kamsa's only been knocked out, knocked unconscious. So Krishna, thinking of his parents, Vasudeva and Devaki in that case, who were chained in Mathura, he wanted them to hear and be assured Kamsa is dead. So Krishna dragged the huge body of Kamsa all around the arena in the presence of everyone there. Just like after sports stars, they win the championship, they parade all around the arena. And the fans sometimes jump out on the field and celebrate with them. Do they do that in Australia, Pratapana? So that's why Krishna did that. See, I'm dragging him all around. He's dead. He's not just knocked unconscious. And Krishna dragged the body of Kamsa all the way to the river so that the funeral ceremony could be performed. And then Krishna himself arranged for the funeral ceremony of Kamsa. And Krishna consoled the widows. Krishna even had tears in his eyes. "Oh, your husband is dead. Somehow or other this happened." He's really into the drama. And then he comes before Vasudeva and Devaki. He unchains them. But they're totally astonished. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He just killed Kamsa. Did you see that? But Krishna doesn't want that. Krishna wants to exchange parental love with them. So he skillfully covers them with Yogamaya so that they'll pick Krishna up on their lap and start to hug him. Otherwise, they're just stunned. But that's no fun for Krishna. "I want your love. Come on, you haven't seen me for so long. I've been gone to Vrindavan for 11 years. So yes, Vasudeva and Devaki are described by Srila Prabhupada as nearing the Vrindavan platform. And then in Dwarka, everyone is aware of the majesty and opulence of Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna. Scholars of Indology get so confused about this, mundane scholars. They think that there are different persons. There's the Krishna of Braj, that's one person. There's another person, there's Dwarkadish, the Lord of Dwarka, that's another. They can't see how these are all the one person, Krishna, reciprocating with his devotees in different ways, according to the degree of their love. Yes, this is a good question. You promise. I'm going to hold you to it. Krishna is the supreme everything. He's the supreme mischief maker. He steals butter. He's the best thief. But how can you apply material morality to Krishna when Krishna is morality himself? So think about that. Oh. What is your question?
When someone get elevated to the higher planet, heavenly planet, do they have to always come down, or can they stay there and then they move over to the future?
Yes, they can move to higher planets. They can take shelter of Brahma on Brahmaloka. And when at the end of Brahma's life, which is 311 trillion years, they can go back to Godhead with Brahma. Unless they still have material desires, and then they return to the material universe when it's created again. So yes, there is a gradual process for going back to Godhead by going up through the heavenly planets. That's explained in the second canto. You've read it? Yeah, okay. But there's a danger in the heavenly planets. Who knows? Huh? Yes, that's one danger. You get, because the material circumstances are so nice, you forget your spiritual purpose in life. That's why in the 5th canto you read that the Devatas pray that if we have any punya left in our account, any pious activities left in our account, we want to take birth on earth. Because it's so easy after a short life to go back to Godhead. So let us remember. All right, last question.
Just a comment. You said something about Indology, but these are Western Indologists who think like that. Swadeshi Indology.
I know about that, but if you go to the University of New Delhi, you'll also find Marxist Indologists who think the same.
Marxists and leftists have created a different narrative.
Exactly.
And they are influenced heavily by Western Indology.
Well, whoever you blame it on, that's all right, but they say like that.
Swadeshi Indology is the answer.
Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer. Krishna is neither east nor west nor north nor south. Krishna contains all directions. Krishna is for everyone. You should look at my book, Searching for Vedic India. I talk about all these things. You ask someone how to get it. Right behind you. Radhika Prasad, he'll equip you. I deal with all that. You'll be very happy reading it. Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.